Bristol City podcast, and we're in a good mood today because the final score at Ashton Gate in front of 22,700 fans, not a bad effort considering Christmas is just around the corner. It finished City 1, Sunderland 0. I'm joined by Neil, Ian and Mark. Morning, chaps, everybody. Feeling positive, yes?
Yes.
Feeling
10 out of 10
after that yesterday. Feeling knackered after that.
Yeah. No, I mean, City's first win in 5, and certainly the second half, it was a bit like the Alamo. As I always do, come to each of you just with your summary thoughts in no more than 30 seconds as you walked out the ground or out the bar or whatever. You first, Ian. What's your outtake from this?
3 points, clean sheet. Played some good football in the first half. Second half was a bit like Rourke's Drift, and we weren't the Zulus. But we should have beaten Norwich. We didn't. We lost the game. And we could have easily lost that or drew it yesterday. And we won it. So that just about sums up the championship. So let's win that. Let's try and win the game against Hull. And then we go into a very busy Christmas period with a very small squad.
Yeah, I think that's it. Small squad. We talk about the subs, which had a very attacking orientation to it, bar one, and the keeper, obviously. Mark, your thoughts as you walked away from the ground?
Sometimes you win games through great play, and sometimes it's through dogged defence. And yesterday it was the latter. A great defensive display against the side City really want to be, who passed the ball with confidence, great triangles, 2 great wide players in Clark and Roberts, but no cutting edge. City did the work in the first half and had to defend for virtually the whole second half. My mouth was absolutely bone dry by the end of that. My nerves were shredded, but I came away feeling elated because we beaten a top 6 side who previous 2 games had beaten West Brom and Leeds. So that was excellent, but there's lots of work to do coming up, but a great 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely what you say there. They've beaten West Brom and Leeds in their preceding 2 games. Away from home, not quite so good. I think it was 1-0 drawn 3, lost 3, but top 6 side, big support, and I know they were confident of getting something, but they weren't. Neil, your thoughts as you walked away from Ashton Gate?
Absolutely exhausted. I'd been put through the ringer that second half, following on from what Mark's saying. I think backs to the wall. The thing yesterday, we cut out the individual error, didn't we?
Yeah.
I can't think of a player that, the stupid, nonsense, little errors that have crept in. We were resolute, determined. Max had one of those games that he can have from time to time where, some of his saves, particularly second half, fantastic. And yeah, I mean, we'll go through the stats obviously in due course, but ultimately, there was a willingness to win there and to get over the line that was impressive from us. We threw our bodies on the line, literally, and we were determined, and it was impressive from that regard.
Yeah, Ian, starting lineup, he made 2 changes. I think it was 2. Leaving out Andy Vyman and Sam Bell. I welcomed the look of that side, really, to be honest. I know it's a little bit Hobson's choice or Manning's choice, really, at the moment. But were you surprised at those omissions? Or in Sam's case, we've been calling for him to have a rest. It was overdue a little bit.
I think Mehmeti's earned his chance with some reasonable cameo performances. And he was very unlucky not to score. That was an excellent move where he cut in on his right foot, and he, if that shot is 2 inches to the left, it hits the inside of the post and goes in like a rocket, and that would have been great for the boys' confidence. So no, I wasn't surprised. I welcomed Gardner Hickman back into the side in place of Joe, who did well when he came on. But the difference between the 2 teams, to be honest, was their technical skills. Their movement was superb. They've got some class players. I mean, Jack Clark and Roberts don't belong in the championship side, but perhaps they do because they haven't been able to do it at the very top level. But I was really impressed with their pace, their movement, their passing, their technical skills. And as Mark said, that is, I think, what Liam Manning would like to play like. Now, if he wants to play like that, he's going to need to bring in a few players because, with all due deference to him, our players haven't got those skills, or they certainly haven't got them yet. So another point, excellent following from Sunderland. When you consider the distance and the proximity towards Christmas, I thought that was a tremendous following from him.
Yeah, good. Mark, Ian's just said about TGH coming back into the side. You look at the bench. I mean, it was Williams, Cornick, Wyman, Bell, Wells, Bajic, Knight the Bell, Yeboah. He's naming 8. Surely you might as well just stick a kid on to make it 9 for experience if you've no intention of bringing him on, yeah?
Yeah, you could do, but you could also say, what difference is it going to make? And I think that's what it is at the end of the day. When you got 9 substitutes, I mean, I don't think there was going to be ever any intention of playing Naki Wells, and of course, bringing him on in that game later on would have been a mistake because of his defensive liabilities. He would have been expected to defend. We know he gives away a lot of fouls. Yeboah wouldn't come on, Bajic, Knight the Bell, unless the defender's injured. So it doesn't really bother me. I think 7 subs is probably enough. But
I think probably.
I mean, those were the two changes that I wanted, and I think we seemed close to a sort of a 4-4-2. It was certainly 2 banks of 4 that we played yesterday. But the other thing about the way Ian said, I mean, the thing with Sunderland is every player wanted the ball. That's the difference. Players you want the ball, pass and move. That's what you've got to do. You come into a space, go out of it. Make the other side work. That's what you've got to do, and that's what we need from our players if we're going to be a team like that. But I was just surprised that they didn't have any cutting edge, for all of their possession, especially with Roberts in the first half when one where he beat Mehmeti, did Mehmeti and Pring on the right hand side, and he played it to the back post, and Clark, it was behind him. He just hit the ball so hard across. He couldn't get it out of his feet, but he would have had a tap in otherwise.
Yeah. Neil, I think we've done the lineup, but let's talk about one clash that was there. We've all said George Tanner is possibly the weakest link. Hate to pick an individual player, but yesterday...
hang on, I haven't said that.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you, but a lot of people...
We all said.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Ian, you haven't said, right? But he is, right? And I think
I don't think he is, Dave. No.
All right, well, you do. I'm going to praise him. I'm going to praise him because I'm going to say yesterday he was up against Tanner. Yesterday was up against one of the most highly rated players in the division in Jack Clark, right? And you didn't notice him. I expected something. Roberts was a standout player for me, particularly as Ian said. You did say that, Ian, didn't you? That he did that amazing run and put the cross into Clark on the back post.
No, I did.
You said it. Martin. There you go.
The one thing I'd say about Tanner, I'm not his biggest fan, I have to say, go on record. But the one thing I'll say about Tanner is it can't be easy for him being at that club in terms of the fact that he knows that he's not the first choice.
Yeah.
He's had 2 seasons now. Last season, we brought in Wilson to replace him.
Mm-hmm.
This season, we brought in McCrory to replace him. He knows that basically he's not going to be first choice. When McCrory's fit, is probably likely. I don't know what kind of player McCrory's going to be like because we've not seen him. No. Maybe he won't be a right back. Maybe he'll be a midfielder. Who knows the way we view McCrory. But Tanner knows that he's actually probably not our first choice at that. So he knows at some stage he's going to have to be replaced. But he gets his head down and he works and he gives 100%. And the one thing you can say about Tanner is that he never gives less than 100% out there. He always plays to the maximum of his abilities. Yeah, there's a few times where there's a few errors and things that drive us mad, but he always plays, as I say, 100%. Yesterday, the way he played Clark yesterday, we spoke, didn't we, in W13, and I was like, second half, Clark was. But the way they played on that shield, they made him come inside each time on the right, and either James or Knight, they just formed that block. They forced him inside on his right foot. The block was there every time. And to be fair, Clark didn't want to go outside him.
No.
There was a couple of times, I think, there was one time where he got outside him and Tanner did a really good, George did a very good tackle, well-timed tackle for a corner. But other than that, he never went outside him.
No.
So City really did their homework on Clark yesterday in relation to him. I think Roberts, as you say, has got a bit more to him.
Yeah.
I think a bit quicker with the ball.
He seems to have a low centre of gravity. He's sort of very difficult to knock out. Bounce. He looks like what Yeboah could become in the sense of that, because he looked quite robust. I was surprised. I thought he was maybe South American or something like that, because he was walking around players in a style that we're not used to.
Patricio Roberto.
Patricio.
But Clark was a little bit predictable in the way that he played, and I think that played to our advantage actually in the way in which we were able to put the block on it.
Okay. Let's get into the action. Ian, we don't normally talk about bookings, but two of our players were booked within 60 seconds of coming on. Tommy and Joe. Let's look at those two bookings, and let's pick, Ian, what did you think of the referee overall yesterday as well? Over to you.
Having considered it, I think he was fair. And I think he did a decent job in letting the game flow. He pretty much kept his cards in his pocket. I mean, the Tommy one, I was like most people, I was following the ball. So I didn't actually see the incident, but it looked like they actually ran into each other. I don't think it was, so people said to me, well, that guy ran into Tommy. And I said, well, I didn't see it, to be honest. Now, Joe Williams went flying into that tackle within 30 seconds of coming on the field and caught the bloke. So, that's that's why I call it a typical Joe Williams foul. And I can't say Tommy's booking was deserved because I didn't see it properly, but Joe's, from where I am, and it was on the other side of the pitch from me because I'm in the Dolman, but it looked fair enough to me.
Yeah. Mark,
on the referee, I think he gave us a penalty, which I think was right. The keeper caught Taylor Gardner-Hickman. And I think he might have turned down one for them and turned down one for us that I've seen given that type of thing previously. I mean, their defender wiped out Sykes in the first half and made no contact with the ball, and Sykes got there first. Now, the ref may have thought Sykes' touch took him too far and the ball was back with the goalkeeper anyway. So it didn't actually make any difference, but the bloke wiped him out. And I think Cameron Pring I've watched the highlights and you can't quite see, but he may have caught their centre back. But I think he seemed to try and stay on his feet, which would make me think that it wasn't a penalty. But if you give one, you give the other, and then it could have been 2-1 instead of 1-0.
Yeah.
But I thought the referee did okay.
Yeah. Mark, Max gave a hint of what was to come. That Alex Pritchard, who plays in midfield for them, I thought he had a touch of the Barry Bannon about him. Yeah. That first chance, Max had saved from defender Hume early on, but he did a spectacular tip over from one of Pritchard's corners, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think it. Yeah, he did, and then there was at the end of the first half there was the free kick as well, wasn't there? That hit the top of the bar.
Yes, it did.
I mean, going back to what Ian said about, I think it was Dan Ballard tried to get a penalty in the second half. I think he went down in stages. I don't think there was really any contact there, but I think Ballard took Sykes out definitely. I can't understand why that wasn't a penalty. And then there was one in the second half, I think, when Sykes, it might have been Ballard again, went into him on the corner of the area. Now, if there's contact, is contact. If you knock a player off the ball, what do we do now? Rate it? Gold, silver, and bronze contact.
I think the other thing,
ridiculous,
Mark,
isn't it?
Yeah, I think the other thing, Mark, if this was a Premier League game, and if we have VAR at this level next season, there's 3 or 4 incidents that would have gone to VAR straight away, and some you win, some you lose. I mean, let's come on to our penalty, Neil, and I'll get all of you to give your view. Sunderland, everybody said Sunderland were knocking the ball around well, very impressive. It was an entertaining game of football for a 1-0 win overall, but they got themselves into a little bit of bit of a mess, and TGH from Knight's pass burst into the box. Definite penalty in your view?
Yes. And I don't think Patterson's a very, very good keeper. I like Patterson for Sunderland, good keeper. But he didn't argue it.
No.
And I don't think any of their players really argued it.
They cocked up at the back, didn't they?
Basically? They did. I mean, the one thing I'd say about their back line, they've got Luke Nguyen, who isn't really a centre-back for me. He's a bit small. If you had a big physical player up against Luke Nguyen, he would really, really struggle down there. And they've got Ballard. Ballard is a bit of an old-fashioned centre-back. Obviously came from Arsenal, did well at Millwall on loan, and he's, you know, a solid, but you get him turned and his skill set isn't quite there. They're trying to play it out from the back. Knight nicks it in the way that Knight is just an annoying player to play against and just sort of nicks the thing. And Taylor goes through, takes a penalty for me. The Sykes one, I thought it was a coming together. From my position in W13, I thought it's one of those that the two players have arrived at the ball at the same time. And the thing about Sykes is in the second half, he did this daft thing after about 70 odd minutes where he's running in, and we're on the screen, aren't we? The two like that, and he runs towards the player and looks to bounce off to actually buy it.
Yeah.
And that is Sykes. Sykes, there's something about him that you think, are we ever going to get a penalty with Sykes? The two penalties we've had with James and with Taylor Hickman, we've just nicked the ball, waited for the challenge. With Sykes has got this way of running, and then you can tell he's like, I'm going to get a penalty here. I'm going to get a penalty here. And he deliberately almost like runs towards the players when he doesn't. I think in the referee's minds, they look at Sykes as somebody who's actively looking to get the penalty, rather than the two penalties we've got from James in the Borough game and yesterday. The player has played the ball in such a way as to elicit the actual penalty itself.
Yeah, that's
what I'd say with Sykes.
That's a good point.
Sykes looks to get the penalty and actively, and I think the refs know what Sykes is like.
And Tommy tucked it away because that's all good for his confidence. What do you think of his run-up? It was a little bit of a stuttering run and then sent the keeper the wrong way.
Good composure, two good penalties from him.
Yeah.
You know.
Fifth goal of the season.
Top scorer now.
Yeah.
Top scorer.
Ian, your take on the goal, Tommy's strike. Did Tommy look more on it yesterday from your perspective?
I think a lot of it with Tommy depends on the support he got. Knight is definitely playing a lot further forward. I mean, sometimes we added two. Sometimes we had Knight and Gardner Hickman. When we had the ball, we were attacking and we were pressing, playing as 2-10s. So it's this thing that Manning wants to do, this fluid formation where you're playing one formation in possession, another formation out. But I think, look, picking up on some of the comments on here, one from Rob Collins about George Tanner. We were told when he came in he was one for the future, and that's quite correct. And he ended up playing, once again, our other major issue at the club, injuries. And if it hadn't been for injuries, this season, McCrory, Neil's right, would have probably been starting at right back. And he's a beast. He's a big fella. But he can also play right centre back. He can also play holding midfield, and he's got a hell of a shot on him. He for Aberdeen last season, he also played right back, right wing back. So centre midfield and centre half. So it's having players that are handy to play in those positions. And at the start of the season, Nigel Pearson was asked if he wanted another central defender and declined it because at the time he thought he'd have Atkinson, McCrory, Naismith, Dickey, and Viner. That's 5.
Yeah.
So he thought, well, whatever happens, I'll be all right. Well, unfortunately, 3 out of the 5 have got injured, and when you're playing 2, that takes you down to the bare bones.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was the squad that Nigel Pearson wanted, and it we never made the allowance for the number of injuries we've got, and it is a major problem. And until we solve that problem, one way or the other,
Well,
either more players,
we're talking about how we solve the problem. It's interesting,
or
Matthew.
stop the injuries. Be interesting to see the new medical guy. I reckon will be in post from January the 1st, or
Be interesting to see who it is.
Back to work in January. The top guy, the one who's replacing Rennie.
Yeah, Matthew Seaward said we have to look at another 2 quality midfielders as well. We'll talk about transfers at the end. Mark, penalties.
Can I just mention the goal?
Yeah, I know. I'm going to come to you. I'm going to come to you on the goal, right? I'm going to come to you on the goal. We don't get any penalties. We've seen more blatant decisions go against us for the last couple of years, and it's a bit like buses, none, and then 2 come along at once. And I think somebody put on one of the social media platforms, was Nigel not a popular manager with referees, and therefore they're thinking, it was a bit like Neil was saying about, Sykes, do referees really think in that level of detail about a player who's playing for penalties? I mean, Alex Scott knew how to buy a foul as well, but we've suddenly got 2 penalties in the space of about 4 weeks, Mark, and tuck them both away, of our fortunes turned. And as I say, talk about a goal and Tommy's finish.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't. It shouldn't do. Managers certainly not. Players maybe, if referees have but it will cloud their judgment. Really, they should do it based on the game, not based on on what a player's done. They should just look at the action in real time. The reason we get that penalty is because we press. So you're only gonna win penalties if you take a lot of touches in your opponent's area. Tommy closes down the keeper, and he'd done it before, I think a minute or so earlier. So he closes down the keeper. Dawson tries to play a left foot pass into Neil, the central midfielder, because Huggins is out of the pitch here. The right back is up the pitch. 9 is actually in the right back position, further over. But then Knight is just flying in. So he gets goal side of him to make a tackle. He actually wins a tackle, but then Gardner Hickman actually comes in behind him to take the loose ball. So going back to what Ian says, God, I've said that about 5 times now. If you haven't got those 2 attacking central midfielders, then it doesn't happen. It only happens because Gardner Hickman picks up the loose ball from Knight's tackle, and then he's in. Then the keeper just makes a touch. There's players behind him. He's not the last man. I think there's 2 or 3 Sunderland defenders behind Dawson. He's right on the edge of the 18-yard box, but it's a penalty. The only reason the way you get penalties is if you actually get defenders or keepers to commit a challenge. We don't do that enough. That's why we don't get penalties. But it was a great penalty. He conned the keeper, moved his head slightly, looking one side, and put it in the other side. No. Great penalty.
No, it was good. And Neil, I thought, if you were talking the period immediately after the goal, if we talk about front foot, fast attacking football, I thought we played some pretty decent stuff. We've already gone into the Mehmeti shot that hit the post. You had an interesting observation about how Mehmeti was being coached on the Lansdowne side.
Yeah.
But it was also a situation which I thought was great. And again, Taylor Gardner Hickman, all this before half time. Dickey, good through ball. Taylor Gardner Hickman, run and shot. Patterson springing to his left to parry it away. We could have been 2-0 up, but you were close to the touchline. Tell the guys and the listeners what Manning was doing with Mehmeti. Micromanagement was the word you used.
So normally I'm up in E32, row 32, which is a very different experience from W13, row 9, because obviously my eldest son's had his ankle operation, so he's in the boot and all the rest of it. So we just swapped seats for the last couple of games. Very different experience, visual experience. You're very close to the pitch. You see a lot of things obviously you're not going to see from row 32 of the Dolman. Mehmeti doesn't really know quite what he's doing defensively, inner shape in particular. And Manning was there with him, basically micromanaging him through that first half. Right, this is what you do here, talking to him. Maybe Pearson didn't do that. Maybe Pearson's expectations of Mehmeti was you go onto the pitch, this is how I want you to play, fill your boots,
But there's other two coaches as well, Neil. I mean, Curtis Fleming and Jason Ewell, they should be doing that.
But maybe the perspective is like, we're not going to micromanage players. We're going to have expectations that they're going to be able to take on board what we want and actually do it on the pitch. But Manning yesterday, he was, Anis, do this, Anis, do that, Anis, do this, Anis, do that. And then I said to you, be interesting second half when he's over on the Dolman side and he hasn't got that in his ear.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was anywhere near as effective the second half when he doesn't have the person there telling him exactly what to do. And I think Manning in his after-match presser said, "Well, Anis, yeah, we're still having to work a lot and actually he's obviously extremely raw, put it that way. The player, the Maverick that we bought in January with expectations. Going forward, he does add a dimension at times, like what he did with the shot that came off the post that Ian was talking about.
Yeah.
Defensively, he's a bit of a liability.
No, you're right.
He's
got no physique.
Although he did, I think he did it defensively, probably because of the coaching in the first half. What he was doing is he was actually coming inside and tidying up. He did make some tackles, which I thought was amazing because normally he gets what happens is he was under Pearson, he was stuck to the side. He was on the side, and once he was the wrong side of the defender, and he just got dragged along. He just can't recover the ball very well. But he came inside and made a few blocks. He was blocking the passing lanes in the first half, which was good, I thought. So there's something there. He'll get better.
Ian, you wanted to make a point. I was coming to you next anyway. Go on.
If you're going to bring a Maverick in, which is how Nigel Pearson described him, or described what he wanted before he signed him, and if you're playing wingers on the basis of how well they can defend, you've got it wrong. Because you've got it. Did you notice Roberts and Clark doing a huge amount of defending? Because I didn't.
No.
So your wingers have got to affect the game going that way, and in the final third. That's what I want to see the wingers. I want to see them getting goals and assists and crossing the ball. And one of the major problems, we were talking about George Tanner. George Tanner is as good a crosser of the ball as anybody we got this season. And I'm including Campering, Sam Bell, Sykes, Mehmeti. Because our crossing is dreadful at times. The times we hit the first defender or don't pull it back to the player properly is poor.
It was 7% accuracy yesterday, according to Sky yesterday.
Sorry?
It was about 7% accuracy yesterday, crossing, according to Sky.
7%. Well, that tells you everything you want to know. You're not going to score a ton of goals if you can't cross the ball in English football, in any football. So Robert Collins said Mehmeti is Manning's Casey Palmer discussed. No, but he does need coaching. And there's a world of difference between what was happening under Nigel Pearson up at the HPC and what's happening under Liam Manning and Chris Ogg. And it's a world of difference in terms of preparation, coaching sessions, videos, telling people how they want to play. And he's trying to take a bit of a silk purse and turn a sow's ear and turn it into a silk purse. Because if you look at the games, the 7 games that they said that they finally decided that Nigel was moving on, the two we won were 2 of the luckiest wins you'll ever see. Rotherham away, when Tommy came on, played out of his skin for about 10 minutes and was man of the match. That's how good that game was.
And Coventry
at home.
Yeah.
Coventry at home, when we could have easily been 4 down at half time.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
So, and we cocked up the formation. But no, I think as you play further forward, and one of the things I said when Manning came in is, if he can get a tune out of Anis Mehmeti, we've got a player. Now, I'm still not 100% convinced with Mehmeti, but I think there's something in there. And obviously Manning thinks there's something in there because they gave him a go yesterday. But let's not get to this point where we're picking, because if you want players that can defend on that side, you wait till Hayden Roberts is fit and you play him in front of Cam Pring.
Yeah,
because
or even vice versa.
Well, I would still leave Pring at fullback because he has got a bit of height back there. And if he's quite effective, when the ball is accurately played to him when he goes out on that left side, flicking it on for Mehmeti or into Tommy. And until we get a taller striker, which my understanding is that we'll be looking for a striker and a creative midfielder in January, then we've got to get around it, if you want to call it that, playing that kind of way. But no, let's not, let's not saying, well, Mehmeti's not that great defensively. I want him to get goals and get assists. Now, if he's not doing that, I'll criticise him all day.
Yeah, we want him in the final third of the pitch.
The one point I make about Mehmeti and Manning is I think Manning's gone on record saying that if he was staying at Oxford, it was pretty much agreed that he was having Mehmeti on loan.
Is that right?
In January. So he knew about Mehmeti before he came to the club.
All right.
He was going to have him at Oxford on loan. And that was agreed that the club was going to loan him out. So he thinks highly of Mehmeti, I think. And he's willing to put the time and the effort in.
And that's what it is about putting the time. It is about putting the time and the effort in. Let's get into the second half, and just not masses of incidents in there, other than 2 super saves from Max. And it was one-way traffic. I read the Sunderland manager, well, he's caretaker manager. Beale wasn't in the box yesterday, by the way, watching the game, but he said Bristol didn't get out of their half until the 70th minute. And I think he was absolutely true there. Neil, we made 2 substitutions, one substitution, 2 players coming on the 70th minute. Williams for James and Vyman for Mehmeti. Were you happy with that and timing of the substitutions?
Yeah, James didn't, the way that they were passing the ball, I don't think James had the best game, but then James sort of stops those lines in the middle of the park.
He can hang back, and that's allowing Knight and TGH to do those.
Yeah, so he's a guy for shutting down the channels when the ball's coming down the middle. They were spreading it wide, and as such, he was used as a block for when Clark was cutting in or Roberts was cutting in. But because they moved the ball out wide so much, he wasn't as effective, I think, James, as he usually is in that sort of thing. So I wasn't surprised for him to go out. To go off, and Williams is the obvious one to send out the rampager type thing and try and get a grip, which he does after 30 seconds. But Vyman again, I mean,
I didn't see a single contribution.
I turned to Thomas after about 80 minutes and I said, just to double check, Vyman is on the pitch at the moment, isn't he, or something like that. And
he was. I think he was fouled, wasn't he, in the last 20 minutes? He did make some good blocks. Defensively, he wasn't bad.
I can't remember a thing he did.
I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Sorry, it's my dog. And some of the noises during this broadcast, we've got Eddie the Labrador has been walking in and out in here. He's just doing his good guide dog bit at the moment. Let's go talk about Max's 2 saves in the second half. You first, Mark. Save number 1. I mean, some goalkeeper like Allison does them, one of the Premier League goalkeepers. They'll be showing them over and over again. But the first one from an 09 header, second one from a Bellingham header. I mean, he silenced his critics. There are critics, not saying we criticise him. Ian, I don't want to get your wrath for saying something that you didn't say. But Mark, those 2 saves, top draw. And overall yesterday, I thought he was okay in every respect.
Yeah, I think the one thing I think he's getting better on crosses. His distribution still, it's still a bit lacking. Some of his kicking from feet and from hands isn't the best, but that will improve. But yeah, the first one, 09, and actually bounces up into him to 09. The ball hits the floor. 09 crouches down and heads it, and it's actually behind Max. So he gets one behind. It actually went to goal line technology. The ball was rested on the line, so he got his hand to it. And I think Garner Hickman's just behind him, tucked inside. Whether he would have got it if it had gone any further, well, it couldn't have gone much further, could it? Because it would have been over the line. But it's a fantastic save. The second one from Bellingham, he's actually heading it down. Now it's a little bit central, which favours him. But again, he gets a good, strong hand to it and pushes it wide. He doesn't push it back into play. He pushes it wide. Top saves in a pressure situation.
Yeah.
So you know,
Kept us in
we
it.
have to thank
Kept
him.
us in it. Kept us in
Yeah.
it.
But that's what you do. I mean, people say we were lucky. We didn't. We won the game because we were great in defence.
Yeah.
You make your own luck. I think it's one of the golfers said, the more I practice, the luckier I get. You know, the harder I work. People say the luckier I get. So it was down to hard work, great defending, and good goalkeeping from Max O'Leary.
I mean, it's like the Norwich game. We should have won that. You know, you can put a spin on it whichever way. You know, and yesterday Sunderland will feel disappointed just like we did. So we can't take the negative aspect depending on which way.
There's no such.
We were lucky. You know, we kept them out. You know, and I thought about that when I woke up this morning. I was thinking,
it's a flippant thing said by football fans, isn't it? I mean, you look at the stats. You were lucky today. You got away with one today. Well, we won a penalty. You look at how we won that penalty. That was from good attacking play. Yeah. And for all of Sunderland's possession, they didn't have a cutting edge at all. No. And that's going to be their problem going forward.
It is.
We're a work in progress. The top six tag, people are still using that flippantly because John Lansdowne said it. It's a load of absolute cobblers. We're a work in progress. We might have to go. Well, we might have to. We're going backwards to go forwards at the moment, but I think we can go forwards.
No, I agree.
It'll need two or three additions, wouldn't it, to make us a better side?
Well, we'll talk about those additions in a moment. And if they'd have had Ellis Sims, who was there in their starting lineup at the opening game.
Well, Coventry got him, haven't they? And he's not doing so well.
He's not doing the business. It just shows that. Ian, the goal, I mean, it was interesting. First half, Pritchard had put in a corner that Max had tipped it over. And then both the header, or both the saves came from indirectly. Pritchard corners, one on the Lansdowne side, one on the Dolman side. I mean, when he plays like that, you don't have to think about whether we get somebody to compete for the number one spot, or do you? And your comment on the two saves.
Well, the two saves were absolutely excellent, particularly the one that Mark highlighted earlier on about it went to the goal line review system, because that ball was half over the line when he clawed it away. So that was a tremendous save. Max is I think Max is a good keeper. Is his distribution always what it should be? No. But we can't all be like the Man City guy, and you're talking about a 35-40 million pound goalkeeper there. So, but I think Max is, you know, I look at yesterday, I look at their defence and their goalkeeper, and I wouldn't swap their defence and their goalkeeper for our defence and our goalkeeper.
Yeah, so I agree.
You know, it's that I wouldn't be, well, in terms of looking to strengthen that area of the field. If we can get the players fit, we may not need to. But my question overall is, can we keep them fit? And that's just a massive problem. I'm sorry to keep going back to it, but if you're going to have a small squad, they've got to stay fit. But I think. I just deal with Bob Taylor's comment. A world of difference. Please tell us more, Mr. Gay. Have you been at the HPC daily? No, but I talk to highly intelligent people who have, unlike you, who are a bit sarky, mate, if you don't mind me saying.
Can I just say?
Just because I shared with him the fact it shared with you, Ian.
No.
He called you the spouting hobbit.
Let's not do that. And Mark, you be quiet. But what I'm saying is it's night and day, right? You look at the way Hodge and Manning are doing things. Hogg and Manning are doing things totally different, and you'll see it reflected in the players. And if those players ain't good enough, then I'm sure between January and the summer they'll be gone.
All right. Okay, Neil, your shout. I wanted to ask you something as well.
Just nothing. Right. Son's got some friends who are in the under 18s and under 21s. They talk about the pitches up at the HPC now. The training pitches, not the main pitch. The training pitches, he's painted arrows on them. There are arrows all over the pitch to show the movement and to show where players should be running. And it's bizarre. Right? Yeah, and it's bizarre. Manning got asked it in a press interview. "Oh, well, you've got all these lines on the pitch. What are all they for? What are they for?" And he went, "Oh, I can't concentrate."
Well, look,
but then with it, obviously after the Blackburn game, he made the comment, maybe there's been too much information with the players. Maybe we've overloaded them.
Yeah, I heard that.
Well, the thing to do is, I haven't got a drone, but anybody who's listening, get up to Ashton, get up to Fayland, and take a drone up this afternoon and send us some pictures. Changing the subject. Changing the subject. And we have this. What is it? Project White Beam. Yeah. And we were talking about what the travel arrangement. We're a green club, almost like the Lord Mayor of Bristol being highlighted in a certain media for his trips all over the world. We're a green club, but we did fly up to Huddersfield on Blackburn on Tuesday. We flew up to Liverpool, and then the players rested in the afternoon, and there was a little private jet to bring them back afterwards. So
they flew on sustainable fuel cooking oil rather than
I personally
regular fuel.
Personally, I thought they should have stayed away, but that's by the by. Let's just wrap the game up. Neil, you WhatsApp me. I mean, about an incident that Josh Jones has said as well. Before we talk about that incident, Taylor Gardner-Hickman, we got to sign him, have we? Maybe. Another good run and shot that was saved in the second half. But Josh Jones has said on the text feed here, Cornick doing his best Baz Savage impression against Yeovil. God, how far they've fallen. Has to be the comical. Tell us about that with Cornick.
Well, he does very well. He's released pass. He's in. He's behind. Yeah, awful touch. Touch. And
he touched the bloke. The bloke touched him, and he sort of just slid in on it. That was nothing.
I think it was a touch that took the ball away from him, and then that's why he slid in. I don't think anybody ever thought it was a foul by Nian. It reminds me a little bit of last year, Jerry Yates.
Oh, yeah.
When he went through the middle, and actually that was putting a little bit of in his back, caused him to the referee missed. But that wasn't great by Cornick, was it? And that
the pass by Knight, Neil, was terrific.
Not to get a shot off there, really.
If I ever wake up in the morning feeling fine because I got Harry Cornick on my mind, you got my permission. God. You got my permission to shoot me.
Yeah, I've had Phil Oakey on the phone moaning about the Tommy Conway song. He can't stand it, Tommy Conway, baby.
Don't you want me? But oh God, yeah.
Tommy Conway, baby. My God, the Human League. Going back to that incident with Cornick, the ball from Knight, because he wins the ball in the right back position, and it's behind him. He plays it across, from right to left. Absolutely terrific ball. But it was like he was celebrating the penalty, he was celebrating a goal, skidding on his knees. I mean, it was a bit embarrassing. I'm just, just so embarrassed by that. Try and get a shot away or do something. Of course, it's in front of Section 82, so Section 82 immediately think penalty, don't they? And you're thinking, I'm just embarrassed. Were you embarrassed? I was.
Well, no, it was just disappointing because that's it, game out of sight. And you remember his very first game for us, Cornick, he had that breakthrough, and if he'd have took that one away and said he blasted it, but at least he got his shot away that time. All right, let's look forward to Friday against Hull City. Ian, managed by former player who should never have left the club were it not for an admin error, Liam Rosinia. They gave Cardiff a 3-0. They're another top six side coming into the game. What can we expect? I see Scott Twine scored for them yesterday, a player who Liam Manning had at MK Dons and who was sold, maybe leading to MK Dons' demise and his sacking. But what can we expect against Hull? Another challenging game, I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, Hull are, if you look at the form table at the moment, they're 8th. So their last 6 games, they've played 3, played 6, won 3, drew 1 and lost 2. They score goals because they've scored 12 goals, but they also concede. So I'm seeing them a little bit as a little bit like Middlesbrough, who score goals but let quite a few in. Going into their away form, their away form, I'm trying to find them on that list, and they're 10th in that. So their last, they are a side that anything could happen, to be quite honest. They've their last 6 away games, they've won 2, drew 2, lost 2, scored 9 and let in 10. So I think once again, if you look at the two teams, it's gonna be a very open attacking game. Somebody asked me, I was talking to somebody in Newcastle during the week, and they asked me how I thought we'd do against Sunderland. So you got to beat them. I said, mate, I honestly don't know what to expect when I go down to Ashton Gate. The only thing I will tell you, it probably won't be goalless. But I mean, we could win 3-0, we could lose 3-0, it could be a draw. And at the moment, our home form is, well, at the moment, our last 6 at home, we've won 4 and lost 2. And
draw then.
We're still not scoring enough goals because we've only scored 7. But then again, we've only conceded 5 at home. Yeah. So it looks like I would say it looks like it's going to be a really entertaining game. But they got 1 brilliant goal from the free kick. That was Twine's. And the other 2 were more or less, well, one was a cross following a long ball down the middle, and the other was a pass, long pass down the middle, which the guy took well and lobbed the keeper. So, but Cardiff aren't in great form at the moment. So hopefully, with the fact that our defence is better, we can keep them out and perhaps win a higher scoring game. That would be my hope.
Well, that'd be very nice. Mark, I mean, it would be a good psychological boost to beat Hull, wouldn't it? Because if you look at the table, they're sat nestled there in 5th. I mean, there's a 6-point gap between them and Southampton in 4th. My view is that there's about 10 clubs, of which we're one, thankfully, as a result of winning yesterday. There are 10 clubs making a play for the two final slots in the playoff positions. Yeah, if we beat Hull, we go up to 32 points. We're 4 points off. That's a good place to be going into the Christmas period, and it marks the halfway point of the season as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got aspirations of the playoffs, but I haven't even got any faults of that, because I think with our recent form, we were looking over our shoulders maybe a little bit. I don't think we were ever going to be in danger of being in a relegation fight if we'd have lost yesterday, but it would have got the fans really worrying. So I think at the halfway stage, if we can be on 32 points, that's great. And then it's going to be signings in January, players returning like Rob Atkinson, Naki Wells, Cal Naismith, maybe February, March, April, I don't know, May. He'll get a few games in before.
Everybody, sorry to interrupt, everybody but Eamon should be back by, I think, Eamon, not sure. Hayden Roberts towards the end of January, and all the others injured mid-January.
Yeah. I mean, Rob Atkinson's going to give. When he's fully fit, is going to give Manning a headache, because he wants to play with. Well, you think you want to play with 2 centre backs at the moment. So at the moment, that's Viner and Atkinson. Viner and Dickey, excuse me. So that's a very good problem for him to have.
Well, I think Mark, I think you play any 2 from 3, because I'm just not, on a personal level, I'm just not keen on Naismith being back there. But then, he's turning out to be a little bit of a sick note. Neil, just to wrap up on looking forward to Hull, that would be good. Halfway point, 32 points, that would be.
Well, Hull themselves are a good team. They are a good team.
Well, they've beaten Leicester and Middlesbrough away, haven't they, this season? Very good.
I really like Tufan for them. He's a fantastic Turkish player there that they've recruited. They've bought Delap, Twine, Tyler Morton, all in on loan, all starting, all performing. Tyler Morton was obviously at Blackburn last year and was a standout player when he was on loan. He's on loan from Liverpool, standout player for Blackburn last season. Twine, he's always looked at play. He got injured when he went to Burnley, but we thought he might actually stand up. But he's a fantastic player in the lower divisions. Delap, he's not going to make it at Man City, but he's a physical presence. He obviously scored against us, I think, start of the season, didn't he, in the away game?
Yeah.
I think Delap sort of scored type of player, physical sort of tall player who's going to cause us problems. I think it's arguably a harder game than the Sunderland and Middlesbrough game. We're actually going into it. The one thing I'd say about Hull is the two centre backs. I think they've got a geezer that was from Long Ashton. Greaves, is it?
Greaves, yeah.
Jacob Greaves, or is it Alfie Jones? One of them's from Long Ashton, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a local lad who went down to Southampton. Didn't go through our academy, went through Southampton. It's either Alfie Jones or Jacob Greaves. The two centre backs aren't great for me. From when we've played them a few years ago, I don't think they've actually recruited and improved in the centre back position. So I think there's some opportunities there. They've got Cyrus Christie, who's getting on a bit at left back, and a right back, left back. He's a right back. Louis Cole. No idea who you are, mate. But there we go.
28.
That's his career over.
He's been at Hull for a number of years. Defensively, that last game of the season we played him before when we won 5-0. I don't think they've actually recruited defensively. What they've done is they've recruited offensively. And I think they've done well.
Yeah.
And they are perhaps they're going to get in the playoff.
Well, I always want to beat Hull because of what they did to us in 2008. So I think we're all speaking as one. Yeah. Ian's thinking that it could be a high scoring encounter. It'd be nice if it is going into Christmas. Be interesting to see what the crowd is on a Friday night. I don't think there'll be too many people making the journey down from Humberside to watch it. But let's just spend 5 minutes or so before we wrap up talking about the transfer window. And you first, Ian. Everybody's coming back into fitness, which is good. So we're going to get to see, in theory, the side that Nigel might have wanted to have played. Yeah. But equally, Liam will want to make some tweaks. There's the loan market possibility, and it's less than 2 weeks now, barely 2 weeks before the window opens. When we sign players, they've always got to be better than what we've got. Yeah. Okay. So somebody like George Tanner, we said when he was signed 2 years ago, he's one for the future, but clearly he's been one for the present. If we get on a run, Ian, like we get a draw at Watford, we beat Birmingham away, and on New Year's Day we beat Millwall. And assuming we beat Hull, that 4-point gap between us and the playoffs will narrow if we put together a bit of form. It's a bit of a conundrum, really. Do you stick with what you've got? Do you twist? Do you go into the loan market and get in quality loan players? And if so, where? What areas of the pitch do you strengthen? So what's your take on the month of January and the window?
My understanding is we'll do business. The preference is the same as it was in the summer, and that's to sign. We'll be signing players from League One, League Two, Scotland. The other area that we'll look at are players that are going to be out of contract. So I hate to say it, but a similar situation to Harry Cornick, where you've got a player who's currently playing in the Championship. He's going to be out of contract in the summer. So the club may not want to sell him, but they will want to cash in and get some money rather than no money. If we can't get permanent signings, we'll get loans, and we'll be looking for players in the top half of the pitch. Now, this is all barring accidents and further injuries, because the problem is you can bet your life if we get 4 or 5 back, it won't be too long before we've got 4 or 5 out, because that's been the way of the world for the last 4 years. So I can't see it stopping that much, although the new fitness coaches and the new head of medical will have a significant impact on that. And if they won't have a significant impact, we shouldn't have made any changes in that department.
No.
But if we can't get perms are the preference. There's money there to do it. Perms are the preference. But if we can't get perms, we'll look at loans. But some of the money that's being quoted for loans because the Premier League clubs see it as a good financial generator. And if I tell you that young lads who've never kicked a ball in the Championship are available at £25,000 a week, that's the kind of market that you're in. If you want Premier League loans.
Okay.
And some of the players, some of the information that I've found out through exceptional sources, is it, for example, Scotty's on 12 times as much as he was down the City Ground at Bournemouth.
Yeah. Because he didn't sign it.
When people say, well, we should have kept him and we should have done this and we should have done that, can you blame the kid for going there? Do you think someone's going to, if you were offered, somebody comes to you and offers you 12 times your salary, you ain't going.
I think,
so that's the market we're in, and that's
money,
what
but
we'll
I
do.
think the thing is,
I'll be surprised if we don't.
Scott's youth contract, the contract that he signed when he broke into the side at 17, would have been probably $4,000 a week tops. Yeah, $3,000. So to go from $3,000 to $36,000, City may well have offered him a contract at, I don't know, if our max wage is $12,000 a week, so he may have offered him $12,000 a week. He's still going to go for 36, very much like Adam Webster went to Brighton.
Not forgetting the point, Dave.
4 times his money.
If you're a professional, you want to ply your trade at the highest level.
Of course you do, which is why, and it's not a case of us
being.
And
if you want to play in the Premier League, this ain't the club. The only way, and even then, we might not be able to hold on to our better players or our best players. The only way is if we get promoted, and as Norwich showed with Buendia, they got promoted, had a tremendous season. Villa come in the summer and say to Delia, right, we'll give you 42
That's
million
going to happen. You're a selling club in those. Every club is a selling club in those circumstances. Yeah.
Well, every club in the country is a selling club in certain circumstances. I mean, Man City sell players.
Yeah.
And that's one thing they've done well. Right. That when a player is, might not be getting in the side a lot or slightly. I mean, they sold players like Sterling. He was a good player for Man City.
Yeah.
They still flogged him because he fancied a move back to London.
He did. And they're not having the best of form. Mark, your comment, I need to wrap up in a moment in total.
Yeah, would in those circumstances, and knowing that we blood lots of young players, would a Premier League club be prepared to subsidise some of the wages? Because they do it in some circumstances, don't they? I don't know if they have done.
But then you're in the question as well as to who do you leave out of the starting lineup? Even with this slightly depleted squad to get better.
The bigger question is will the kid that you sign on, let's say you go, Steve Lansdown says, or John Lansdown now says, right, yeah, go and get it. So he says to Brian Tierney, yeah, you go and get Ronnie Jones at Chelsea on £25,000 a week. You don't know if he's any good in the Championship.
No. Well, we didn't
Some
know.
Some players have gone down and paid a lot of money and haven't torn up any trees.
Abraham was going to be any good. All right. I just.
That's the chance. What I'm saying is that's the chance you take, and we live in post-COVID rather than pre-COVID times. And the world's a different place financially, unless you're in the Premier League.
Yeah, the risk is greater. That's what we're talking about, and much greater
exactly that
risk.
All right,
and
Neil,
those clubs are shitting themselves. Yeah.
I'll take on transfers.
I think there's a real difficulty in January getting the players in, full stop. Even if you're talking about, right, okay, we're in the market, we go and we, approach a team and we say we'd love to take this player on loan. Right, it's on 20 grand a week, right? Okay, yeah, well, going to bet. There's going to be 4 or 5 other clubs looking to take that player on loan. So then what happens is you get into a row where you're having to bring them over, sell the club to them and do all these type of things. That takes weeks. If anybody thinks that we're going to be getting in, whether permanent loans, whatever, in the first 2 weeks of the window, I wouldn't say. So I think we're going to go through the majority of January with the squad that we have at the moment. Yes, we'll look to tweak it and bring players in. We can all see after the first 7 games where we need to improve if we're going to be playing Manning ball. But the point is, recruitment is a nightmare in January unless you pay stupid money on a permanent, or you're willing to, you go to the Liverpools and Chelsea's and say, I really like that youngster, right? He's 20 grand a week. Well, we'll give 25 just to get him in now. You're either paying over the odds on loan to get him in front of the other 4 teams looking at him, or you're overpaying on permanent contracts to bring people in. Either way, you're never going to get value for money.
No.
But I mean, that, Tomlin, we got in. Great for us on that thing, galvanised us.
Kept us up, and then was a total waste of money. Although we got our money back because we took Cardiff's pants down.
The lot down Hallfield got Elliot Anderson in from Premiership into League 2, and he pretty much single-handedly got them promoted because they were going nowhere in League 2.
I'll be honest.
So you can find it, but it's not a great time to recruit, and it's not a great time to bring in. There's a certain desperation around trying to recruit. It's a good time if you're in the playoffs, building on what you've already got.
But we could be in that situation if we have a little bit of a run. No, but we're on the fringe.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Yeah.
God, I'm being far too.
If you believe in fairies next,
no,
David,
I'm just look.
I know it's. I know what you mean. It's nice. You can do if you win it. If you have a run of games, you could be in the playoff position.
I think with the players coming back after injury, and as Ian says, but we could lose a different 4. But if I think with the players coming back after injury, right, then anybody that we sign in January has got to be better than what we've already got and can come straight into the team in one of those starting lineups. So maybe after the whole game, we talk about who's at risk. I'm going to throw a name out there now because we said about midfielders, and I know he's not an attacking midfielder, but I think Matty James might find that he's part of the matchday squad going forward rather than an ever-present in there. I don't really know. And then the final thing on this is who might go out. As somebody said on here, Matt Seaward said on here, be good for Yeboah to go out on loan.
Oh, God, definitely, yeah.
And where does Anis Mehmeti go out on loan? Because if we sign 3 players and effectively we've got 3 players who would be first-team starters coming back, we could be 6 players better off than we are at the moment. But we're talking.
Yeah, but Dave, you've got to allow for injuries moving forward because don't forget, you can't. It's all right saying, well, we could let Mehmeti go out on loan and we could do this and do that. At the moment, Liam Manning's terrified every time one of our players goes into a tackle because he thinks, well, Christ, I could lose another one for 3 months. So
I don't know about him. I'm terrified.
Guys, let's look forward to. I need to wrap it up.
Well, can I just make a point about where we are, Dave? We're 9 points clear of relegation, which is a decent place. If we can beat Hull, that could go to 12. We're 6 points behind the playoffs. So once again, a win, and it's on a Friday night, could make you look in a much more healthier position. Let's looking on the bright side.
Yeah. Whatever happens on Friday, we will be, and Hull is the marker. Now, West Brom could overtake Hull. Sunderland could overtake Hull at the weekend, right? But Sunderland are 3 points behind Hull at the moment. We would be, even if Sunderland win at the weekend and we beat Hull, we'd be 4 points behind 5th and 6th place going into the games. And then what a marvellous effort that is as well. Nearly 9,000 fans going up for
eulogised about
West Ham in the FA Cup.
Well, we've eulogised about Sunderland and their prowess and their technical skills and all the rest of it. They've picked up 5 points out the last 21 away from home.
Yeah.
So that's the division we're in. It's not when was the last time? Can anybody tell me the last time we won 2 games back to back? It must be over 40 games now.
It is now. It's now over 40, Ian, because when that stat first appeared, it was that. Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. We've had a record live listening audience on YouTube this morning, which is really really good. I'm going to try and do a couple of half-season reviews with some people, so people have got some stuff to listen to over Christmas. We passed through 180,000 downloads just the other day in terms of our total listenership since we started 3.5 years ago. That is now, and we'll be back giving our thoughts on the whole game at 9 o'clock on Saturday, and then we'll advise what we're going to do vis-a-vis covering or reporting on Watford, Birmingham, and obviously New Year's Day, Millwall as well. But Neil, who's been sat with me here, thank you, Neil. Ian, who's sat there at the bottom of the screen, thank you, Ian, as always. Mark, as always, everybody, thanks ever so much for listening, and enjoy your week. And a lot of people are finishing. You're probably, you're not finishing. No, I'm not. But yeah,
they
Christmas
stop.
holidays start now. Christmas holidays
the-
start now. So let's all do Merry Christmas glad handing for everybody. There we go. Merry Christmas, everybody, from everyone at Forever Bristol City. I'm doing a piece.
Thanks, Mr. Holder.
As well, by the way. So yeah, I'll be doing that in the week ahead. I was on Sunderland podcast this week as well. So
What the Folk? That's a great name, wouldn't it?
I know, What the Folk, but no, it's good. It's just a good crack. There's a great podcast community in this division, in every division. So we enjoy doing it, and hopefully you guys all enjoy listening. Thanks a lot. All the best to you all. Bye bye.
Bye now.
Bye.